1920, and we are a global technology driven products and services company that provides global SaaS shipping solutions, mailing innovation, financial services, as well as a pre-sort mailing services across the United States. So small businesses to large enterprises and government entities rely on Pitney Bowes to reduce complexity, increase security, and eliminate the potential for fraud in the sending of their mail and parcels. Pitney Bowes is the technology behind every important delivery. So a quick fun fact, we invented the world's first postage meter. And still today, we help move billions of parcels and transactions every year. We currently employ over 7,200 employees, and we also are supported with over 500 contingent workers, and we serve over 1.5 million clients around the world. We went live with our Workday project in July of 2021, and our footprint now includes core human capital management, US and Canada payroll, time tracking, advanced compensation, Prism Analytics, recruiting, talent optimization, learning, and of course now we have VNDLY for contingent worker management. So as we continued growing with our Workday suite over the years, it really became apparent that a large area of focus for us and our managers has been, understanding and managing our total workforce structure, and particularly our contingent labor program and population and pipeline, which really played a key role in our decision to transform our management systems and processes. So before VNDLY, we had a lot of challenges managing our contingent workforce data and processes. We were unable to achieve an accurate picture of the total talent we strive for while dealing with a large integration problem, data reporting challenges, really stemming from our former VMS Beeline. So our managed service provider continues to do an excellent job of managing our contingent labor program. However, they didn't have the tools needed to fully optimize our workflows and the things that we requested. We had, as stated before, we had daily challenges with our integrations with Beeline and our, between Beeline and our Workday HCM. And that really hindered our ability for seamless and timely reporting needs and limited our visibility and overall true cost. No secret, over the past few years, Pitney Bowes has been going through a strategic transformation focused on simplification and cost reductions and consolidation, which included decisions to simplify our HR processes and our systems. So a large project from those decisions was to implement originally Workday time tracking. When we chose Helios as our implementation partner, during the requirements phase, Helios and our project team discussed how we were going to handle time for our contingent workforce. So we quickly realized that we had another opportunity to streamline and simplify. And that's when Helios introduced us to Workday VNDLY to help with that.
Absolutely. And that's where we came in. So instead of just saying, yep, we can help you turn on Workday VNDLY and take it as status quo, we went through a process called a success workshop with the Pitney Bowes team, where we really helped look at the entire program from the ground up and realign on all of its needs. In that, we held 4 sessions, really focusing on some of the high-level aspects of a program. So the foundation of it, the technical landscape related to it, a lot of the financial ins and outs, as well as the overall contractor experience. Each session, we really looked to gather a high-level understanding of the requirements, understand their current state, where they wanted to go in the future, and really kind of pull out any big design considerations from the Pitney Bowes team that may just overall impact how their flow is going to work. And at the culmination of all of these workshops and sessions, we delivered an overall recommendations and key considerations document. That's the image you can see on the right there. It's a really long document that has all of our detail around our findings and recommendations. So rather than just saying, yep, here's a document, have fun with it, we also created an overall playback session where we kind of boiled down what was in the document into more of a high-level overview of some of the items that we wanted to. So there, armed with that document, we're able to help gather all of their assess their current state and really craft their future vision, clarifying their responsibilities, mapping out the processes, and really aligning timelines for the broader enterprise. We also developed a compelling business case and a project plan that Tiffany's team could take to their executive board. And just as importantly, we were able to find tangible ROI by reducing the number of softwares needed to manage this workforce. They're in reducing the manual effort, creating better compliance, and improving their overall decision making through enhanced data. With that final readout, we really were able to make a clear picture that Pitney Bowes had a great opportunity to support the strategic transformation for these by adding Workday VNDLY to their Workday portfolio.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mike. So appreciate that feedback. So after that, we quickly gained approval from our leadership team to proceed and assemble a cross-functional team to support the Workday VNDLY deployment. We, of course, asked Helios to assist us in this deployment as well, as our Workday time tracking deployment was going really well, and the two processes were very closely aligned. So I led the overall project, and our team consists of members from my HRIS team, our HR operations team, finance procurement, our PMO, and alongside our MSP, and of course, our Helios deployment partners. This, really may seem like a lot of people. However, we really felt a true all-in approach was critical because we knew that this change would impact all areas of our business. So as an example, our HR operations team support our managers in the field. Finance and procurement, they handle our budgets and our supplier agreements, and our MSP manages the day-to-day operations of the program. So we really knew we all had to work together to make this project a success. So to make sure we stayed on the same page, we created a clear governance model with weekly steering committees, escalation paths, and milestone checkpoints. It was important to us to prioritize a Workday VNDLY first approach. So it also influenced our configurations decisions when implementing the VNDLY extended workforce management and statement of work modules. It allowed us really to design for the future and support all the enhancements to make sure that they were simplified and easier to digest.
Yeah, definitely prioritizing that Workday VNDLY first approach is a huge advantage. It really lets VNDLY do the work for you, leveraging that native connector that allows you to keep both environments in sync and really give your managers a one-stop shop of when they're thinking contingent labor, they go to one place for it.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So again, with every project, even though you come fully prepared, we all know there will always be challenges. Some of our challenges included aligning stakeholders when multiple priorities are happening at the same time, migrating our data from Beeline, and of course, balancing speed with quality. We had a very, very tight timeline because we had to go live with the VNDLY project at the same time we were deploying our large Workday time tracking project. This also meant that the same resources are working on both projects. And these challenges really made it clear that we had to stay lock and step and prioritize and communicate as a team.
Yeah, you don't give your team enough credit, Tiffany. You guys did an amazing job of recognizing that that was a very tight timeline, and you had to prioritize making design and process decisions very quickly, and so we can keep this project on track. Did a great job.
Thank you. All right. So we kept our all-in approach by collaborating, communicating frequently with our project team and of course our stakeholders. We also prioritized thorough planning and alignment in the areas where we anticipated potential obstacles. So as I mentioned earlier, we had a very short timeline and needed to move very quickly. So our strong team collaboration and keeping an eye on our priorities really allowed us to push through and stay on track. So when we selected VNDLY, our primary focus was on implementing the extended workforce management module to support the full life cycle of our contingent workforce. This includes everything from job requisition, creation, and approval workflows to sourcing, onboarding, invoicing, and offboarding. So staying aligned with our company priorities, VNDLY provided an opportunity to fully integrate, streamline, and simplify our systems and processes while enabling the automation and delivering accurate reporting and compliance to our businesses. We also implemented the stable work module, although we currently have a limited number of contingent workers engaged through SOWs. We're looking to expand the use of that module in the very near future. So as stated earlier, following the VNDLY first approach will allow us to quickly do this when we're ready.
Yeah, so this project had a great opportunity for a lot of great collaboration between Helios, Pitney Bowes, their MSP. It was a really, it was a great dream team to have together when we're really looking at this tight timeline. And one of the areas I'm most proud of is really this change management aspect. We worked together with the Pitney team, the MSP, to make sure that we had a plan for all areas of the business that touched contingent labor. And so they were really able to get excited about using Workday VNDLY.
Yeah, absolutely. Change management was huge and it had to be built into every stage of our project. So our internal team led our change management effort with support from our internal communications team. And of course, our great MSP managed the changes for our supplier. So Helios assists us in knowledge transfer and end user adoption. And of course, this close collaboration worked out really well for us, as we knew that it wasn't just our internal teams that needed to learn a new way. We rolled out training in phases, leveraging a blend of live sessions, job aids, and on-demand videos. These resources were utilized by our managers, our HR partners, our suppliers, supporting the contingent workforce, as well as my internal team as well. So regular updates for several communication channels helped keep our stakeholders engaged and informed. And that, constant communication really helped reduce resistance and help build adoption.
That's right. And part of the success along the way was having Helios be able to do those knowledge transfer sessions you talk about and really make sure that the Pitney team had all the right information to go to their key stakeholders and managers and provide that precise direction and process training. And additionally, we sat down with a lot of the folks at the MSP to help them get them up to speed on how they could train their vendors and suppliers in this transition well, because at the end of the day, this is something that's a big change for the suppliers too, on how they're managing their workforce that's aligned to Pitney Bowes.
Yep, absolutely. With every project, we would not be complete without a few lessons learned along the way. There are a couple of key takeaways that really stick with us that I would recommend to anyone out there looking to start the contingent labor management journey. First, data. Clean data is critical. Auditing and cleaning up our legacy data ahead of time would really save us a lot of time. And secondly, get your stake in buy-in early. I would highly, highly recommend the Helios workshop to assist in sorting out all the nuances of a project like this. Early alignment made everything more clear and helped us get the project up and running quicker and smoother. And finally, be ready to get unexpected benefits from the VNDLY deployment. So for us, those benefits included real-time contractor visibility, automated alerts for contract end dates, seamless integration with our Workday core HCM, and time tracking. And overall, it made our processes simpler, more compliant, and data-driven. Now that our project is complete, we're really beginning to see the full impact of our efforts. With the Workday VNDLY integration into our core HCM application, we now have a clean and accurate view of our entire workforce, both employees and contingent workers, all in one system. The integrations has enhanced our ability to make data-driven decisions, improve compliance and audit readiness, and streamline reporting across HR and finance. It also has reduced a lot of manual intervention from my team. We no longer see an abundance of integration issues with our new VNDLY system. It also has increased operational efficiency and strengthened our collaboration with our teams, as well as our MSP and our external vendors. And continue to build that relationship is most important to us. But ultimately, we've laid the foundation for a more agile and scalable workforce strategy. I think that's about it for me. It's been great, and thank you guys so much for listening. I hope I was able to give you a clear sense of how moving to Workday VNDLY for contingent workforce management helped us and Pitney Bowes achieve our goal by gaining full visibility and compliance across our total workforce of employees and contingent labor. So Christine, with that, I'll turn it back to you for any questions that might be out there.
Yeah, thank you both. I really appreciate the time and for sharing those insights with us. I am going to jump to the questions. There are just a couple of questions in the Q&A. So if anyone has any additional questions, please keep them coming. The first one that I have in the Q&A seems to look back to the project team. So it says it was mentioned that the project team for Pitney included HRIS and finance. All groups needed to be in lockstep to ensure success. Would you elaborate a bit on how much time was needed from these groups, considering you already had a VMS in place?
Sure. We have a great relationship with our finance partners today. And the major uplift, came from my HRIS team, right, from a technical perspective. We really brought in our finance and other partners together to more operations and make sure the decisions that need to be made were also involving them. So, from outside, maybe an hour a week, depending on the conversations, other decisions that need to be made. So it kind of ebbed and flowed. But really, like I said, from a technical perspective, more of my HRIS team, but we collaborated very frequently from our internal partners as well as our MSP, who handles our day-to-day operations of the program. But, finance, procurement, HR operations, we brought them in as needed when decisions need to be made. So as needed.
Okay. And I think, I hope that answers the question. If anybody has any follow-ups on that one, let me know. But this one seems to be kind of in line with that. Or was it an advantage to go through Workday time tracking and Workday VNDLY at the same time? Like, did that assist with the team and the project success?
Absolutely. And one of the biggest advantages for us as well was Helios was our deployment partner for both projects. We have a large hourly workforce, which the majority of our contingent workforce is also hourly. So when we had the very large project of implementing time tracking, it was important to us to make sure that we were together in implementing both projects because, time is important for both our employees and contingent workers, but our contingent workers are also important to our business. So we had to make sure that everything, again, was lock in step. We were on the same team. It was great having both Helios implementation partners be able to talk to each other, for us to be able to talk across both teams. So it just worked out really well for us because, our contingent workforce, the majority, like I said, are hourly and they're a big timekeeping user. So making sure that we were all working together at the same time really helped both projects go along a lot smoother.
Yeah, I think it was really helpful to have both from a Helios perspective to be able to say you didn't have to play telephone on requirements between the two projects to say we need to go talk to our timekeeping project or reach out to the VNDLY team. We could just talk internally and really keep things moving quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I do see additional questions are starting to come in, so we do have some time. We'll get through all of them. What do you feel was the biggest change for your users between using your previous VMS versus using VNDLY? Do you think that it was easy to adopt VNDLY because of the Workday integrations?
Absolutely. So we are, like you heard earlier, we're a big Workday shop, and we're a big self-service shop as well. A lot of our managers and users are very, very used to self-service and going into Workday quite frequently. So when we implemented VNDLY, the adoption was pretty seamless. Even though they're technically two applications, the environment, the look and feel is all very similar and how things work. So, and the integration is pretty seamless. So going from, our other VMS into the new VMS, because it was linked to Workday, because it's a Workday product, the whole experience is pretty similar. So the adoption was quite easy because, they're used to Workday, they understand the environment, and it was pretty easy for us to do because it's linking, it's just like our Workday environment.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, it looks like a question had come in on why you didn't add the workers directly into the core HCM product and label them as contingent, why you chose to keep them in a separate software.
So the VNDLY software manages our program, right? Finding the contingent workers, onboarding the contingent workers, but we do flow the contingent worker data, the people data over to our core HCM, right? So the core HCM with the contingent worker data in it allows our managers to see the holistic picture of their entire workforce. So while the program aspect of it, the day-to-day operations is being managed on the VNDLY program, we do flow that data over, the hires over, the terminations over to have the full picture in a core HCM.
I think there's also a whole aspect of the chart or the cost of that labor that's managed in the VNDLY tool that isn't represented within the HCM side. So to have that there too.
That's correct. Yep.
And talking about the time tracking that you also implemented, do all of your contingent workers go through the time tracking system?
A vast majority of them do. Yep. So that's another core reason why we brought them over to our HCM application, because time tracking is an HCM. And they use time clocks, and all that data kind of flows in, and then we flow that data back over to the VNDLY side on the cost and the vendors and making sure people get paid appropriately.
Tiffany, are you using a custom API for that, or is that a standard API?
It's standard Workday API.
Yep. Okay. Can you speak further to the data conversion effort? What activities was Helios responsible for versus Pitney Bowes? And how many resources did you find necessary to support the data conversion?
Sure. So I'll start. So in partnership with our MSP, we had to evaluate the data that was in our VMS, making sure that we had all the contracts, all the actives, cleaning up the data, make sure people who were active, people who were terminated. Anybody in flight, we had to make sure we had a process there for them. So really documenting all of that into templates. Helios was able to give us a very large template to allow us to, pull all the data in, and then they, took it to evaluate it. So I'll hand that over to Mike to kind of talk through once they got the data.
So once we were able to get all that data from Tiffany, it was really just making sure that we were able to get all the representation of the new values and new fields that may not necessarily be there for the current population that we needed to get added in, as well as any just program related fields that need to be added. And then we would load them into VNDLY and make sure that there was a syncing between VNDLY and HCM so that there was representation there on both sides.
Yeah. So there's a lot of auditing going on, making sure, and obviously everything's in flight. We're still hiring people, even though we have freezes. It's never technically a freeze because our business still needs to run. We still need to hire our people. So making sure, along with our great MSP, just making sure we have all the data up to speed. And of course, like after the fact, because everything still remains in flight, there's always a lot of catch up, making sure the people who did get hired in the middle of it are still there. They're showing up in the core HCM, they're using time tracking. So there was still a lot of cleanup after we went live, but things are pretty smooth now.
And then I had a question come in. Let's see. Can you put contractors in VNDLY and not migrate them back to Workday core HCM? We have a large population that we need to enter to get them security access through AD, but don't want them mixed in with our W-2 employees. We hear that pretty often, but I'll let you talk about that.
I can speak to our experience. So it was important to us to bring them into core HCM. I know the question is, can you not do it? I'm sure you don't have to, but because we use Workday as our system of record, including for our downstream IT processes, right? So we have, something has to happen in Workday first before people get access to our IT applications or a network or anything like that. Even prior to time tracking going live, our contingent workers were in HCM. Even, we had some integration challenges like we spoke earlier about, but we didn't give them access to the network. Like they really only needed access to our other time tracking application. But now that we brought them into Workday, we worked with our IT partners to grant them access. So even though they were living in Workday, the data that flew downstream to our IT applications, we were able to add in some condition rules that said either exclude this population. We call them our VMS contingent workers because they don't need access to the network. But now with Workday, we want people to go in, want to see their hours, that they're flowing into the information. So we did give them access, but they just essentially they have a user ID that allows them to get into Workday via multi-factor authentication. So there is benefits of kind of bringing everyone into Workday, but you don't have to give them access to the Workday environment via the controls that you have with your IT organization.
Yeah, and I'll add, there is functionality within VNDLY to say, yep, let's create this person, but not send them over to HCM. It's a provisioning checkbox that you can say, and you can do that module specific. You can do that on population specific, but and then in order to get them to your other downstream systems, you'd have to create a separate integration that would evaluate where that person came from.
Yeah, no, exactly. There are, I think there's over 30 now integrations between core HCM and VNDLY. So if you want to use the pre-created integrations, you would have to throw it into HCM core or into HCM first, and then you can flow it out to all of your softwares that you have linked to HCM. Otherwise, you could build a custom integration directly with whatever that onboarding software is that you need to get it into for security. Looks like there's a question about a day pass. So I'm going to try to make sure, try to make sense of this. So it says, will you elaborate on guest accounts? Like a day pass type of arrangement that is only someone that's only coming in for a very short period of time. Will they have the same EID in HCM and in VNDLY? Ryan, thanks. It looks like you did help us out with putting in a note saying, yes, VNDLY captures the Workday ID and keeps that in sync as well. So I hope that answers that question. But so the answer there, the short answer there is yes, there is the ability to do that.
Yeah, it's important for us to have that capability, right? Because Workday is our system of record for our workforce, right? But VNDLY manages the program of hiring and getting the information into Workday HCM. So having those IDs consistent across the board is super important for the connections with the integrations and stuff like that.
Yeah, and specific to the question about the short-term arrangement or some sort of day pass, they would need to have some sort of record in the system. So you would have to set them up with a type of record, whether that be a short-term assignment or just bringing them in under like a worker tracker type of a situation. There are different ways that you can handle that.
Yeah, and having that record, I would assume is super important for your reporting and you know your program management to understand you know your volumes of people, even if they're short-term.
I'm trying to see, I think we may have caught all the questions that have come in. Yeah, I think we hit everything. So unless anyone has any additional questions, and give it like a second to see. I think we are okay. So Mike, I know that we put this on here. We are having Workday Rising coming up in the week after next. So if you are going to be at Workday Rising, feel free to go and visit the Helios booth.
Yeah, come on down, talk. Ryan, who answered the chat there, he'll be there. A couple of other folks will be there, and happy to answer any questions you have about VNDLY or HCM in general.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We really appreciate the time that you took out of your day to come and listen to us. I hope that it was really helpful for you. We will send the recording out to everyone after the call. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we would be happy to help.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike, for being here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye now.
Bye all.